go ahead and jump right into Emerge Interactive.
Great, thank you guys. It's really exciting to be an Aruba Engage partner and just seeing the incredible opportunities that the technology is unlocking. It's really, fun to see how the conversations are changing as people learn more about what can be done with the technology. So just to give you a little bit of an overview, we're going to spend a few minutes just talking about kind of who Emerge is, share with you some of the work we've been doing with Aruba and some opportunities we're seeing out there. Julian's going to kind of deep dive into that here in a little bit. So let's see here. So just a little bit of background about who we are. Emerge has been around for 20 years. We work with small businesses all the way to Fortune 100 enterprises and helping them plan and implement basically high impact digital solutions. And what we're really focused on, how do we use these technologies, create these mobile experiences that are really creating the most value for their business. We've seen that many businesses struggle to deliver really effective digital experiences, and it's costing the organizations a lot of time, money, there's frustration. And so we've really stepped in to help solve that problem and really make sure that we're creating solutions that are going to really create that value for the organization going forward. To help our clients, we work with a large set of technologies and integrations into their client-facing and internal products to solve some of these unique challenges. So here's just a sample of a handful of the technologies that we work with. Obviously, right there at the top, and focusing on what can be done for clients when we're looking at building some of these custom applications. If it's internal product around maybe operational performance, or we're looking at customer-facing experiences, and how some of those experiences might need to tie into a platform like Salesforce. So quite a wide breadth of services, and being able to create some really high impact digital products and experiences, leveraging the integration of these technologies.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Can you provide an example of how you use something like Okta or paying within an application?
Sure. So I think Julian can speak to this in a little bit more depth, and I'll introduce him here in a second to do that. But Ping and Okta, using their identity services, has been really pivotal in thinking about how do we collect all of the information and synchronize these experiences. Julian, do you want to give a couple of specific examples from some of the projects we've worked with?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So think about it. Whenever you need to take an app to a employee base, for example, those employees are going to be already in your LDAP system. You want to authenticate them in the application. Using Ping Identity or Okta will provide out-of-the-box multi-factor authentication methods for mobile devices, and additional data collection methods for their user accounts that are going to make application development and the security for those applications much better. So there's certainly the employee focused side of that, but then Ping Identity and Okta also focus on customer identity. So that is also for customer applications where you want to require a login system. We can integrate with Ping and Okta and Auth0 as well.
Perfect. The reason I chose those is because networking guys should know those names. What are you going to do with IBM Watson?
Yeah, so, Watson is great for things like sentiment analysis. If you're trying to do some image analysis, their artificial intelligence APIs are just really powerful for a variety of use cases where you're trying to analyze some sort of material that typically would require a human to be involved.
Perfect. The reason I'm asking is because when I'm talking to resellers and even our own internal salespeople, it's about having them come to us, and then we sit down and we sort of map out ideas for what people can do. Obviously, most of the networking guys aren't playing around IBM Watson. So thank you.
Sure.
All right. So just continuing on here, we a little bit about Emerge's kind of breadth of experience, as well as we worked with a lot of wonderful clients over the years, wide breadth, ranging from, again, these small businesses of Fortune 100 companies. And, we're not just a partner with Aruba, we actually work with Aruba. And Julian will be sharing a case study here in a little bit of some of the work that we've been doing to support their customer experience center. To really, help these clients. They all have kind of a couple of key things in common that I think is interesting to share when you look at kind of the vast, kind of swath of industries that they come from technology to retail and consumer brands and education, so forth, is that they all had the similar issue of they had a user experience challenge or key opportunity, and they knew it could address, bring value to their business. And they wanted to take a customer-centric approach. They saw technology as a key enabler to realizing that opportunity, and digital was either a key part of the customer journey or a key part of the solution to enable their employees to do something that was really important for the business. And so, that for us has really been our focus of having that deep expertise where we can go in and we can support working as a partner in the background or in a conference room, working with a client, brainstorming ideas and figuring out, how do we solve these problems or what opportunities are in front of us to provide that end-to-end solution.
So I got another question, sorry.
Yeah.
So when you walked in, did the customer talk about, you solving a digital experience, or typically, how does the conversation start?
Oh, great question. It starts usually in one of two ways. The first one is they've identified already that there is a particular problem or opportunity, and they're saying, hey, we know what the problem is, we just don't know how to solve it yet. And we're looking to you to help us actually, come in, solve that problem. And a lot of times through that process, you start to realize, that we can create a lot more opportunity for the business than just solving that problem. Because they're just looking at that and not, for example, maybe all the data that you can collect through that process that maybe unlocks something else that's significant. The other scenario that comes in is that they've identified the problem, they know the solution even, and it's just maybe it's an issue of capacity, right? They understand that they just don't have the resources, or maybe they just don't have the internal expertise to develop and bring the mobile application and create an internal platform for them going forward. And so we'll come in and we'll help facilitate that process as well.
Yeah, I think we talked earlier a while back about, I can't remember the company name, that they were having an issue where they were spending a lot of time walking between buildings, and you actually sat down and helped them figure out how much productivity was being lost, and then how an app could actually help. So it's kind of interesting that you have to look at it and then start dissecting, where it makes sense to add the digital part, where not, and how easy or how viable the tool actually has to be in order to make it work. Thank you.
Yeah, and that example of that story, just to build on that for a minute, that one was a great example of, they knew they had a problem, and it started actually with conference room space, just the utilization of that. And then by knowing looking at how people were moving, we started to find, dozens of other opportunities, and we're able to help them figure out what the impact of solving that problem would be and how that could support their business.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. So also just looking at kind of overarching market focus, over the 20 years, Emerge has worked in consumer goods, education, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, technology. So we have a pretty wide breadth of market experience, but there's also a lot of depth in each of those. I think just in those alone, we've probably have cumulative of 15 years plus in each sector. So it really helps us go in and think about how do we understand the industries that our clients are in. We can talk, we have the same acumen. We understand what's driving those businesses, and we can come in and really from day one start providing value on creating the solution, and not having to worry about ramping up or trying to understand their market as much, and we can really just get to work on helping support them. And so I think that that's really key for us. And a lot of our clients also span, they're worldwide. Some of them have operations in almost every country in the world. So being able to have a very agile and easy working relationship where we can keep things, really simple for everybody that we're working with, and support the different time zones and the different people that need to collaborate across the globe is also really important in our focus. So working with Aruba, our goal has really been to provide this comprehensive end-to-end mobile and IoT solutions offering, and really focus on mobile engagement, asset tracking, and managing the complexity that's focusing on the quality and the speed of delivery of those solutions. There's some of these challenges have a lot of moving parts to them, and so our goal is to really come in, provide that end-to-end solution, and make this just focusing on that quality and speed of delivery, which seems to be really critical to all of our clients. So with that, I'd like to spend a little bit of time just jumping into some of the value I think that we can offer to anyone who's interested in potentially building a custom application going forward. And I think the first one to really talk about a little bit is helping actually define those customer and end user requirements. What do we need to create, and what do we need to make sure we're solving when we do this? So we can work with you and your clients to really map the user journey, define user stories, understand the systems and the different infrastructure that might need to be involved for the integration of just like the core technologies, like if Watson was applicable. And then also making sure from that there's a really clear and focused plan to reaching the objectives of the project. This can also include helping build business cases if there's, if we're working to secure larger funding for projects, or this has to move up the chain and larger decision making. So just the example that Trent was talking about people walking around campus and office spaces, that was a perfect example where we helped them build a business case. So the team we were working with could take this idea and these insights and take it up to their CFO to get approval and show them that they had a plan in place to get a good return on their investment. The second one is,
sorry.
Yeah.
I've got a question where somebody's asking, what type of titles do you end up talking to? Potentially you're not talking to the network guy, you're not talking to the security guy. Who do you end up talking to? So for us, it's pretty broad. We will talk all the way from a CMO or a CIO, CTO, and then down through to maybe a IT director or a product owner. Product managers are very common for us to work with in collaboration. And we've actually probably worked across pretty much every business function based on who's buying the technology at the time. But it is kind of a wide swath of titles. So it's a way for a reseller to get into the line of business people as well then. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the nice things about sometimes doing things like user stories is in looking at the business groups is we can take technical decision makers, business decision makers, and we can talk about it from an employee user perspective or from a customer perspective, which makes it really easy to have a really high value conversation and figure out, how do you move this forward? Great. So one of the other things that we do is, I think, providing creative support. So including, user experience design, visual design support. So we can provide this full end-to-end if these services don't currently exist in something that you can offer or your clients have. But we can also augment existing teams as necessary. At Emerge, we also offer full stack development, and this is including native mobile app development, backend programming, and support. And so with that, we're able to, bring our experience in developing these solutions and with a proven development team. And we can also provide dedicated teams for continuous delivery and improvement for those that might need ongoing development and support. They don't want to staff it or internalize it down the road, and they want that continued relationship. We can support that with how we build teams around these projects. Another thing that we can support is providing customer training and support for product launches and ongoing maintenance issues. So we do this both hands-on and remote training, and we can help with any size of team, whether they're together or located across multiple locations. And so we do a lot of that as part of the work that we do, or can support that independently. And then, of course, we offer the value of the proficiency and experience of using the Aruba beacons and tags. Our work with Aruba beacons really gives us an incredible understanding of what can be done with the technology and how we can leverage it and create some amazing custom solutions. So for us, a typical project, starts with planning phase and then moves into insights, is where we're really making sure that we understand and are solving the problem that client is asking for. And then we move into a strategy, design, and implementation phase with quality assurance and then delivery. So this kind of typical project path is usually roughly a 6 to 12 month process that we go through. And depending on the complexity of the application, can actually be shorter, up to 3 to 4 months, if we're really looking to focus on just some core features, or even just get that first, if you will, minimum viable product out there for a client, and then something that they know they want to build and iterate on over time. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Julian and have him walk you through some of the examples of our work and a couple of case studies.
Thank you, Jonathan. Before we do that, before we move on to the next slide, we have another poll question here. So we'll quickly administer it, and then again, we'll share the results, and then we can provide some additional insights there before we get to Julian's slides. So the question here is, have you ever lost a deal by not having an app developer within your solution? The answers are yes, no. No, we did leverage an app developer. So those are the answers there. And we could spend a few seconds again to log in your answers. It will be much appreciated. And as we do that, just wanted to remind you that a PDF of this presentation deck is available for you on the right-hand side of your panel there under the handout section. So feel free to download the handout and pass along to your colleagues. And we'll be also making it available on various partner resources, which I'll be sharing a little bit later. So it looks like around 60% of you have voted so far. So we'll spend another few seconds here to give you a chance to log in your answers before we share the results. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out here and share the results here. So 15% said yes, 71% no, 14% said no, we did not leverage an app developer.
Or we did leverage.
We did leverage, I'm sorry for that. So thanks again for your feedback, a lot of great information there. Anything you want to add there, Trent?
So that's 29% of people saying that they did win, but then 71% said no, that they have not lost a deal. But I'm wondering if it's because there was no deal to be had. So if you can provide me some guidance, maybe through the question panel, that would be great. If you said no, can you tell me, like, was it an opportunity that never came up, or how'd you actually solve the problem if you didn't engage with somebody? Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and close out here and then we'll get back to the presentation. So thank you, Trent. So Julian, it's all yours.
All right, I'll jump in. So as a Meridian Engaged program partner, we integrate both the Aruba Meridian mobile engagement platform and the asset tracking tags with custom mobile applications. And for the mobile applications, we do use the Meridian SDK that Trent mentioned earlier. You can see a comprehensive example of our work at the Aruba CEC, or Customer Experience Center in Santa Clara, where we were selected to design and develop the native iOS companion app that leads the way through the space. Since this app touches on so many different of Meridian's possibilities for your customers, we'll actually use that today as the example for the presentation. So I will take you through the process of creating that application and show off some of the features along the way. So to start off, one second here. There we go. So to start off, the requirements for the application were to show off a variety of use cases of Aruba's location services technology. First off, we want to demonstrate how seamlessly that technology can be integrated into a best-in-class user experience. The phone screen, for example, is mirrored onto big screens at several stops throughout the demo tour, which allows the visitors to see what the interactions are on the phone app as they're happening. In case of this application, we also knew it was only going to be used by in-house staff that is specifically trained to use that application. The application also needed to be vertical agnostic, showcasing how the Aruba technology can be applied to a variety of industries. And over time, we also wanted the ability to have notifications and other messaging needs within the application to be customized. And of course, last but not least, we had, as usual, a limited budget to operate within. So some of the Aruba technology features that we wanted to show off were the blue dot navigation, which you can see on the left, the zone entrance and exit events, such as unlocking doors and controlling in-room electronics when you enter a certain space, also real-time location-specific notifications, and point-of-sale system integration and conference room system integration. In this case, we worked with Team. To give you a glimpse into the process, Aruba and Emerge stakeholders spent 2 days in a collaborative UX workshop to flesh out all of the application's touch points. So we explored how users would interact with a guided app environment and other devices such as kiosks in the space. We connected these dots on how these space experiences would come to life and illustrate that Aruba technology. So on the right-hand side, you can see the user flows as they're coming to life on the whiteboard. Once we had that in place, Emerge started creating the visual design framework of the application. So the goal of the user interface, the goals were that we needed to be easy to use, intuitively smart, and touch on every aspect of the customer experience center. This all while guiding users through a highly experiential demonstrations and the beacon technology behind it all. The final app experience showcases the features such as the indoor turn-by-turn navigation, location-based notifications, the team conference room reservations with Skype and Outlook integration, and also point-of-sale systems integrations. The Customer Experience Center app actually demonstrates the potential and power of the Aruba beacon technology and all the connections to smart devices and kiosks throughout the CEC. Now, John and Trent touched on this briefly before. We also have built a platform for campus employee applications, which leverage the Aruba location technology to improve employee productivity and facilities utilization. Some of the use cases of our platform provide returns on analysis of employee location on campus without invading privacy. For example, we do this by using beacon technology that only works on the campus as opposed to GPS, which could track an employee everywhere they go. We can have awareness of different campuses and buildings, which is great for companies that have teams distributed across multiple buildings on a campus or even worldwide, where travel time between meetings becomes a major factor. So we can actually measure how much time is lost traveling between meetings and how to rearrange teams on a campus to recapture that lost efficiency. We can also measure conference room usage insights, which leads to better utilization, how many people are typically in a room, which rooms are used more than others, and so on. We also have access to dining facility and vendor utilization prediction and prognostic recommendations based on individual employee dining preferences. So this can be a major time saver as it helps distribute staff more evenly across dining options on campus and can reduce the time lost waiting in line for a certain dining location. We also have automatic directions for employees between meeting locations via calendar integration and in-app navigation. And this, of course, uses the Meridian Blue Dot navigation technology. And we also can optimize the collaboration between teams by co-locating them on campus to minimize overhead for moving around meetings and increasing the teamwork.
Hey, Julian.
Yeah.
So while this is kind of like an enterprise campus, right? Potentially you could use components for higher education, universities, maybe a convention center, stuff like that?
Absolutely, yes. So the idea is you have to have a user base that can install the application. And once they have that application installed, we can start tracking how they use the facilities and then provide analytics on that. And of course, also provide value to the users through things like shuttle schedules, dining menus, conference room access, of course, is a big plus. So we want to provide value both directions, both for the end user and for the operations team.
Perfect.
Now, the great thing is if you have Aruba access points with Bluetooth beacon on your client's campus deployed, it is virtually just a flip of a switch to start using that technology to track the employees on campus. The Aruba asset tracking technology that was launched earlier this year opens the door for a whole new set of use cases. Some of these include that we can provide frontline employees instant visibility into critical equipment location. We can also connect real-time asset locations to the Meridian indoor turn-by-turn navigation and personalized push notifications, so that if you're trying to locate an expensive piece of equipment on your hospital campus, for example, you just tell the app to navigate you and take you there, and it'll take you straight to that piece of equipment. And of course, we can integrate all this location data with legacy systems. So if you have a legacy database of equipment or want to integrate this with your employee database and an LDAP system, all that can be done as well. And like with the other components of Aruba's location technologies, the possibilities here are really manifold, and our team can help you bring those to life. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John to go through some additional use cases.
Thanks, Julian. So what we wanted to do is just share a few more examples of work we've done for clients. And I think there's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight a couple of these, beyond just for everyone's sake having a little bit more examples of the work that Emerge has done. I think these are also great opportunities where now if we had approached this project going forward, what we could do for a client using the Aruba technology. So it's kind of a dual purpose here. And I'll go through these briefly in just the next few minutes. So the first one is a project we did for TED. So they have their TEDx events, and one of them located in our hometown of Portland, Oregon, what the theme was Crossroads. And they wanted to play with this idea of how do we get people at an event to connect with one another, since everybody's got a smartphone in their hand. And so we created a mobile application for the event where they could enter in their information, and then they would start to answer questions. And over the course of the conference, it would start to give you recommendations of who you're most like at the conference, and it would give you their LinkedIn information and their Twitter handle, and would prompt you to go connect with that person based on your similar interests. And then what we did is we also took that information and said who you were least like, and prompted other types of dialogue, and embracing kind of the unique personalities of the people at the conference. And then we were able to take this information and visualize it into an experience where we had their badges and the data from the mobile application, and we're able to do an interactive display that was part of the after hours event held at a different location. Doing this now going forward, what would have been amazing is, while this project was a huge success for us and got multiple awards, actually, one of the key things is what we could have taken this so much further with the Aruba technology, especially with the tagging, asset tracking on some key elements that we wanted to have interactive and moving across the space at the venue, as well as having the location awareness information and doing some data visualization that at the time wasn't possible, since we didn't have the advantage of being able to leverage the Aruba technology and the beacons. So, but great project, and definitely a great opportunity to see how the technology could, innovate and evolve some of the work that we've done in the past. Another project is that we did was helping develop the account portal for AT&T. So great project, working with lots of data, lots of integration of different systems, and we really had to manage everything from brand and business strategy to how do we create this experience and help implement it and really provide that end-to-end solution. I think one of the key things was behind this was an experience for employees and having more insight on how they were moving around the store locations, and more insight of some of the larger assets in their corporate offices would have been a great opportunity to level up this work at the time with the Aruba technology. And then we did for a client, they have, it's a major shoe manufacturer in the world, and they came to us with this need of, we need to create this business intelligence platform to really understand how our products are created, how much they're moving, what the manufacturing process is like. They have over 900 partners that they work with, where they have installed technologies in those locations. Over 75,000 employees worldwide, both on retail and in the corporate side. And trying to pull that all together was quite the task. But one of the key things that we were missing is some of this. While we were able to build a very successful product and platform for the client, the Aruba technology could have taken things to another level, especially with understanding what's happening in the manufacturing environment and seeing how that process, where they're constantly looking for optimization and opportunities. So just a couple of very quick snapshots of a few of our projects. But wanting to again really highlight, these are all projects that at Emerge we're incredibly proud of and we're very successful. But at the same time, seeing now what's possible with the beacon technology and the asset tracking, what we could do to take these even further with what we now have with this partnership today. So with that, Trent, I'll hand it back to you.
Hey, thanks. I think you got one more slide though.
You're right.
You want me to talk about your pricing model? You don't want that.
Okay, I'll take care of it. So just to give everybody a sense of how we work, we have three ways that we handle pricing. We do, first is time and materials. We have an average blended rate of 155 per hour. That's everything from design, user experience, and full stack development services that are offered on that time and materials basis. The second is we do fixed bid, which is dependent though on a certain level of detail. So do we have a clearly defined problem and a specification for what we're building? But we are able to do fixed bid projects when we have that level of information and working together. And then the third is a subscription model for those that need a maximum project agility and ensuring continuous delivery. So basically following a subscription model, think of it as a retainer, having a dedicated product team that is focused on that constant delivery of, maybe it's one product or maybe it's multiple mobile projects for a client or for your clients, depending on what your needs are.
And on that, one of the models is that they could bring you in as a partner of theirs, or they could bring you in and the customer just thinks that they're with you, correct?
Exactly.
All right. I want to make sure that that's clear so that these guys have an option. Well, Jonathan and Julian, I want to thank you very much. There's a picture of Nate on this slide, and Nate would be the reseller's contact, correct?
Absolutely. Nate is our Director of Business Development at Emerge and would be, is excited to hear from any of you and to support any questions and help in any way that we can.
I know he's talking to a couple of resellers already, so hopefully this kicks off a couple more discussions.